But it's interesting, Newt, I want you to hear this. We asked him about 45 minutes ago what he thought of Donald Trump picking up the phone call, accepting the phone call from the president of Taiwan. And of course, mainstream media is having a meltdown. What does Dana Rohrabacher think about it? Here's the answer.
By picking up that phone and for the first time having a conversation with the elected president of Taiwan, he showed the dictators in Beijing that he's not a pushover, that they cannot have this aggressive foreign policy, and there's going to be consequences for their hostile and aggressive action.
And he also said he thought the fact that he took the phone call was terrific. What do you think?
Well, look, I think it is terrific for a very simple reason. You have the elected leader of 23 million people. This is the third time that they have had a peaceful transfer of power between parties. This is the first woman elected president of any country in Asia who didn't have either a husband or a father who was already president. So she is in her own right a serious leader. And if the leader of a free people call you, why wouldn't you take the call? I think this whole State Department mythology that we have to somehow let the Chinese dictate to us is nonsense. And I thought it was a good signal to the world that Donald Trump is going to be his own person, and that if the Chinese want to deal with the United States, they're going to have to actually deal with the United States. They're not going to be able to intimidate us.
Well, you know what I found heartening, and I thought Ari Fleischer said it best, and I'll paraphrase. He said if he's just doing it and winging it, that's one thing. But if he's doing it as a change in policy, better luck to you. You won the job. But it looks as though, according to the Washington Post, that this is something he had talked about. And when Kissinger comes to see you and John Bolton comes there on Friday, a lot of people think that this whole thing was planned out and somewhat scripted to send the exact message you were sending, which you just said. And to add to that, the tweets that went out yesterday, one of which said it's okay for did China ask us if it was okay to devalue their currency? Did China ask us if it was okay to build up a massive military complex in the middle of the South China Sea? Game on.
Yeah, I think, and remember, he is going to make a number of decisions, whereas you put it, he's winging it, but he's winging it within some very core principles. One principle where he's a real break with the last 40 years of American diplomacy is this is a democracy calling him. Somebody walks in and say, hi, the elected leader of a democracy would like to chat with you. Somehow it's okay with the State Department to talk to any dictator on the planet, but an elected leader of a democracy, boy, that's really dangerous, right. Which is why, frankly, I think the next Secretary of State has to spend about half their time cleaning out the State Department and the other half their time negotiating with the world.
Yeah, Mike Pence, I thought his response over the weekend on the Sunday shows was great, because he said, you want to complain because he took a phone call from a country that we might need to have a dialogue with. He said, look at President Obama. He's having conversations with Castro, who killed people. And then I was reading an article this morning. Bill Clinton did let the president of Taiwan speak at Cornell University in the 90s. And then George W. Bush allowed the president to visit the U.S. when he was going to other countries.
Yeah, I think that for a long time we were intimidated by Beijing. And I think we were in part patient because we had this theory that they would gradually mellow and they become more democratic and freer and more open.
Nope.
Well, that's not happening right now. And so I think, again, we're not the enemies of China. Let's be very careful. We don't want to start some kind of Cold War with Beijing. But I think we're going to have very tough negotiations. And I think we have to try to understand each other. But that means the Chinese have to try to understand us as much as we have to try to understand them.